all backgrounds, all cultures, all religions can practice their own faiths, but also come together to forge a common identity. But the thing I know from my own background is that we can only build this shared society if we speak the same language. It's what my mum and dad did when they came here. They came and learnt English. It's why I believe in a simple principle that everyone in Britain should know how to speak English. And I think sometimes we've been too timid about this in the past. It's something we should expect from everyone who comes here. And it's especially important that people who work in public services, in public-facing roles, should be required to speak English. Nowhere is that more true than in the National Health Service. But we all know the crucial contribution that people from overseas play in our NHS. Doctors, paramedics, social workers, nurses. They bring specialist skills that we need. And unlike others, I will never demean or devalue their contribution to our country. But it's vital. But it's vital. It's vital that people who come to fulfill those roles don't just have the right medical skills, but can communicate with those for whom they care. So in the future, all healthcare professionals will be required to speak English to a sufficient standard so they can care effectively for their patients. And we'll legislate to give all the healthcare regulators, not just some, clear powers to enforce this rule. So strong borders, contribution, building a common life, all of these matter. But there's something else that's important too. And you know, it's something else that no other party will ever understand or tackle. It's about our economy and the world of work. I think we should have a candid conversation about what's happened to our economy over the years. So many of the secure jobs that once defined so many places that people live have gone. The mills and mines, the factories and family farms that once provided dependable work for people, for whole communities, are often no longer there. And now, people in this room will know this. Our economy is defined too much by insecurity. Low pay, low skills, temporary jobs, poor prospects, 0 hours contracts. And this is the story of our economy for so many people in our country. And you know, it's in these insecure, low-skill workplaces that migrant labour is often concentrated. And I think something else that we all know is this is often a place where the normal rules just don't seem to apply. Too often, it's an anything-goes economy that damages the interests of working people. People living in the most appalling, cramped conditions, sometimes sleeping 20 to a house, people being paid well below the minimum wage, people having their wages stolen. Now, this exploitation of the worst kind isn't just bad for those people directly affected, it drives down living standards and conditions for everybody else. It undercuts the wages and conditions of local workers. Because if people are willing to work in these type of conditions, it inevitably drives down standards for everyone. It actually makes it harder for responsible employers to do the right thing and pay decent wages. It's an epidemic of exploitation, and we will end it. We'll increase the fines for firms who don't pay the minimum wage and undercut wages. We'll stop the unscrupulous practice of using agency work to undercut permanent employees. We'll ban recruitment agencies from only hiring workers from overseas. And we'll make it a criminal offence to undercut pay or conditions of local workers by exploiting migrant workers. It's the right thing to do for the working people of our country. And to enforce all this, we'll establish a new enforcement unit based in the Home Office, a team of at least 100 officers who will have one overriding duty: to stop the abuse that makes the working families of Britain poorer. This Labour Party will fight exploitation wherever we find it. And this new unit will have the powers and funding it needs to increase the prosecutions and convictions of Britain's worst employers, those who exploit workers and drag down the wages of everyone else. So we'll take measures to secure our borders, restore contribution, achieve integration and tackle undercutting. But there's one other thing that we've got to do, and that's to rebuild trust, and this is the hardest thing of all. The promises politicians make during election campaigns matter. When they aren't kept, they don't just erode people's faith in politicians, those specific politicians, they erode faith in politics and in what we can achieve together. Some of you will remember the promise David Cameron made before the last election on immigration. No ifs, no buts, he said. We make a promise to the British people that we will reduce net migration to the level it was at in the early 1990s. In other words, he told us he'd get net migration down to the tens of thousands, not the hundreds of thousands. That was part of his contract with the country. He even did something else. He actually said that we should kick him out of office in 5 years' time if he didn't deliver. Quite a good idea, I said to him. He was right about one thing. And look, net migration rose to 298,000 last year. That's a rise of 50,000 since 2010. It's the highest it's been for 10 years. So he's not even close. His target is in tatters. I reject false promises. I'm not going to make false promises on immigration, but I'm not going to offer false solutions either. Some of you will know, many of you will know, that Nigel Farage wants us to leave the European Union. I just want to be straight about this. It'll be a disaster for jobs, families, and business, and it's never something I will do. And I'll tell you something else I won't do either. I will never seek to exploit people's legitimate concerns. I don't want HIV sufferers attacked on national television. I don't want to pretend that we should get rid of our racial equality laws. And I don't want a country where we seek to divide. That is not who I am, and that's not what I offer. On immigration, UKIP are the party of fear, the Conservatives are the party of failure, and Labour is going to be the party of fair controls, on borders, on benefits, in our public services and in the workplace. And you know, I think Britain needs a Prime Minister who will only make promises on immigration that they know they can keep. Real promises that will make a real difference. A plan that starts with strong borders, so people have confidence that there can be control of who comes into the country. A plan that's founded on fair rules, where wages can't be undercut and benefits must be earned. And a plan that's based on the right values. That's what I offer in terms of our better plan for immigration. It's based on Labour values. It's based on British values because Britain is a tolerant country. We're an optimistic country. And it must be a country with rules that help working people. Above all, I believe in a Britain that has its best days lying ahead. A country that knows that if working people succeed, Britain will succeed. A country that knows we can have a better plan with a better future. And I hope we can build it together. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.